from Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons. I'm a Master Certified Life Coach and an Energy Healer. I'm joined today with Courtney Robinson. Courtney Robinson, the champion of purpose-driven style empowerment, is at the helm of Image by Courtney. She stands as a pioneer in empowering women within the biotech industry through a distinctive blend of style mentoring grounded in faith and purpose. Her approach combines expert fashion insight with deep values-driven guidance, positioning her as an authority in fostering not only aesthetic transformation, but also profound personal and professional development. Central to Courtney's methodology is the Purpose Palette Persona, a proprietary method that revolutionizes the way female senior executives perceive their wardrobe and, by extension, themselves. Courtney cultivates an environment where the elements of poise, passion, purpose, and presence are not merely present but are intentionally nurtured to flourish. Moreover, Courtney's unique market position, where distinctive style meets authentic purpose, elevates her service beyond conventional image consulting. It transforms fashion into a powerful medium for women in the biotech sector to articulate their ambitions and values, armed with a wardrobe that authentically reflects their true selves. Courtney, welcome.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much.
What made you want to start with biotech women?
Well, being that I have an illustrious career in clinical research and have worked with women in science and pharmaceuticals and biotech, felt like a natural extension, right, of women that I can really identify with in terms of their career growth.
Did you find yourself when you were doing your work that you were tapped into the Purpose Palette persona?
Well, actually, that's how this all came about early in my career as I, was vying for better positions and growth and leadership. A big part of how I was able to show up was by refining my wardrobe. I wanted people to see me differently. And in that, I had to honestly show up in a different way. And that just started with my appearance because that gets attention. It commands authority because people see you before they hear you.
I'm curious of your thoughts on someone like me who will tend to wear very provocative outerwear that says something, like that has statements on them that might get a conversation going. So for instance, if you were to land on my website, you see the first image that pops up is fuck normal, I want magic. That's what you would see. What is your take on that? When someone is wearing something extremely, and it's not, by the way, it's not to get a rise out of anyone. I
Sure.
feel so strongly about the element of this, what I call a copy paste culture that we live, which is everyone conform to one type of person, which is typically in the workplace, which women and people of color were not designed with them in mind. So I unsubscribe to that, all of that. So that typically
Right.
I like to wear things that are probably a lot of people would either neither wear or be like, wow, she's wearing that in public.
Sure. I'm really glad that you brought that up because authenticity is at the core of it all, right? That looks different for everyone.
Yeah.
Style is a silent communicator. It is also currency and energy. So to me, you projecting those things, you have a really good grasp on what you want to put out into the world. And that's what you're reflecting. And consequently, those people will be drawn to you that really resonate with those messages. That's what we all want. And so my job is to help every woman find what that is for herself.
Yeah.
Right? Not every woman is sure about it as you are, right?
And I wasn't always, Courtney. Oh gosh.
Right.
This is a new discovery about probably 2 years old or less. The first 40 years of my life, I was buttoned up. And what that meant to me was wear suit and heels and straighten your hair. That's what it meant. And so,
Gotcha.
as you can see, we're not in video for the podcast, will be audio only, but you can see all how I like to express myself, my wall of signage, which is really, we need your unique brilliance, every single one of you. Be weird, be quirky, be awkward, be buttoned up. That's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're buttoned up and that's your comfort zone, be you, do that. I think this is where you're saying, be sure that it comes from a place that is in you, not anywhere else.
Right. It has to be a reflection of your innermost values and beliefs. That's only when it resonates with other people. When we're trying to be something that we're not, everybody can see and feel that, right? And so for me, I want women to see themselves the way God sees them, right? I think a lot of women feel invisible. They feel hidden in plain sight, as if people don't really truly see the remarkable woman that they are. And so my thing is, let's find that it factor for you. Let's find that thing that really speaks to who you are, because it can't be anybody else. It can only be you. And once we tap into that, there's a transformation that occurs. And kind of like you said, so what for you, what flipped the switch? I'm curious, a couple of years ago.
So what flipped for me 2 years ago was after almost 20 years in the corporate world, I had a one last straw moment. And I said, oh, okay, today's my last day. And it had been building for a long time, probably 5 or 6 years prior to that moment. 2022 was when I closed my laptop and I said, okay, I'm done. Had been building for a long time. And this goes back to when my first role out of college, the term success all around me. And I went into corporate almost immediately out of college. It was business suits. It was work trips. It was heels. At the time, again, my boss is telling me to straighten my hair. Curls aren't professional. And because that was coinciding with titles and money at the time, that's what I thought my value was. I hold value because I can show up as a quote unquote professional in this space. And this is what that means. What started to happen was that in my mid 30s, I started to shed really beautifully all of that training and conditioning. And I started to feel kind of antsy in my soul. I'm like, I like the way suits look. I like the way heels look. I sometimes like my hair straight, but again, on my terms, like I didn't want to be told anymore. And I started to wear my hair curly, and that was amazing. And I started to lean into that a little bit. I would wear maybe some tennis shoes to the office instead of my heels. I started to inch into it. I'm like, wow, this feels cool. And then beautifully, my soul started to awaken to the fact that I'm a healer, I'm a truth teller, I'm an activist, and that is who I am, not necessarily the version of me that had been showing up for 20 years in the corporate space.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say, fortunately, unfortunately, I'm not fortunate for the workplace abuse that I experienced. However, I am grateful for the experience that was led to this path, my soul awakening to what I'm here to do on this plane, which is coaching and helping others to awaken to what their soul is kind of ringing the doorbell. And then also this platform, celebrating, amplifying intersectional feminism, saying what we're out here doing, all of us women who are doing something a little bit different. And then also with workplace psychological safety, I'm on the national team to drive that piece of legislation forward in the US this year. So all of that together, that was ringing my doorbell and saying, hey, when are you going to take a look at all of these other sole purposes that you have going on? And I was like, okay, let's go. So that's what started to occur 2 years ago. And I proudly I go through seasons too. I'd love your thoughts on this. One day I'll wear like a hoodie and yoga pants. And then the next day I'm like, I want to dress up. It just depends on how I feel.
Right. It's dimensions of who we are as women. But I love that. You hit on so many key notes that really play into my process, right? And the first is your purpose. You figured out what your purpose was. And in that, it transformed how you wanted to show up and how you want it to be seen. That's for all of us. I think a lot of women just don't know how to tap into that. And then there's the whole values and beliefs. Like, people don't really understand how much that plays into so many dimensions of your life, but it especially plays into your style and how you show up. You can dress the part, and in that meaning, dress the part that you want, that you gravitate toward, that you are, whatever your essence is, whatever mirrors your purpose-driven aspirations. You can reflect an image of that. You can leverage your personal style. You can leverage your personality, your lifestyle, your goals, all of that through your wardrobe. And so it's all about that. And then there's color psychology, right? the whole thing about, certain how colors make you feel. You mentioned maybe I feel like a hoodie today. Maybe I feel like, getting dressed a little bit differently. How you feel is very much at the root of how you should choose to show up, because why would you put on anything that doesn't make you feel empowered or doesn't make you feel good? So I love that. I ascribe to you can decide how you want to feel every day. So if you feel like a lax day, great. If you feel like a more elevated day, great. But that can still be within the realm of your personal style.
Today I'm wearing a shirt that says, "Surely not everyone was kung fu fighting." From the
I
song.
love that.
From the song. And then I
Yes.
have these purple glasses. So I do like to make a statement,
Right.
but not from a place of ego. It's from a place where, like, I love those purple glasses. I'm going to wear those.
Sure.
I love that
Absolutely.
with something or other. I wear tutus sometimes. What would you say if someone wanted to wear gray all the time? Is that like grumpy or sad?
No, but I would challenge it in terms of let's talk about color psychology. Let's talk about what does that really represent for you?
Mm.
And then what are you really trying to say? Because I can give you some other colors that may project and reflect what you're trying to communicate. So sometimes it's just a lack of knowledge in terms of what other colors might make me feel the same way or be in the same color family or something like that. I like to challenge the norms in terms of I'm not trying to put everybody in trends. Trends don't work for everyone. If you're somebody who wants to follow the trend, sure, we'll figure it out, but I still may not even recommend that. For the most part, there are some fundamentals for everybody, and that's like dressing for your body type. There are some things that look better on your body type based on what you are. That doesn't mean you need to be cookie cutter. That just means like clothes that fit. Sometimes women like to hide behind big clothes. So wear some clothes that are a little bit more tailored to your body so you can feel comfortable and confident in who you are. That's it. If it makes you feel confident and comfortable, I'm all for it.
There's something I want your opinion on, and this was back when I was still in corporate. I was on an enterprise task force to welcome people back into person after the pandemic. And I brought up the notion to I would say, an older senior leadership team. And I said, hey, we have been so celebratory of come as you are when everybody was working from home the past 2 years in pandemic. We've been celebrating that, wear a baseball cap, wear whatever you want to wear to feel you. And then during this task force meeting, everyone's like, well, everyone must return in business professional. And I was like, is that true? And what about just 6 months ago when we said, come as you are? There was a big rub, and I ultimately got overruled because they're like, well, everyone's just going to know by coming back to the office in person, they're going to have to dress up. I was like, is that true? So I'm curious of your thoughts, because there was a couple things happening there. One, it seemed very disingenuous for everyone to be like, during pandemic, come as you are the value, not your clothes, essentially. And then, oh, by the way, forget all that.
Not so much. Right.
Right. Just kidding. Come back to the office. You have to wear khakis. And I don't even know if people wear khakis anymore. I haven't been in the workplace in a long, but you know what I'm saying? Like it was the cut
I
suddenly.
do.
And they were like, well, we don't have to say that. Everyone just knows they have to wear something different when they come back to the office. I was like, okay, well,
But they didn't, did they?
We all got back in and we saw like basketball shorts, like those netting shorts. I was like, I told you. And like, did you not mean that? So I find this struggle around what you wear and what you present as. I love what you just said. If you feel confident and comfortable in who you are, wearing what you're wearing, and that's a baseball cap and tennis shoes, that's amazing. And I don't know that a lot of people in today's workplace really honor
Embrace that. Yeah. Honor or embrace it. Well, so here's some of my thoughts that came up in that. They didn't necessarily honor the shift in the culture, right? Because none of us were the same after that. Business is not the same after that, right?
Right.
And so that to me was the missing piece. Like, in order to take care of your people, you have to acknowledge the very real shift that occurred in our entire world, let alone many of all those subcultures. And so one of the things I promote when I'm working with women is you need to know the culture that you're going into and how to show up and reflect in that culture. Does not mean that you still can't be you, but there are some adjustments and tweaks that you can make to show up in that culture, right? So had they just said, okay, we're coming back, so we need you to be presentable. Here are some parameters, but to mandate all business attire, it's kind of like unrealistic because many people probably couldn't fit half of the clothes that they were wearing before COVID, right? And a lot of them got rid of them because, we just acclimated to this new way of life. I know that when I started working remotely, which was almost a decade ago, yeah, my in-office attire really expired. I gave like all my nice clothes away to someone else who could wear them, who was still working outside because, I didn't feel like authentic sitting behind a desk or my home desk at home by myself in a suit, right? or something that was a little bit more elevated. So I found clothing that was a little bit more comfortable, but still allowed me to feel productive, right? Because the clothing impacts you first, and then it's a ripple effect and it affects others. So the whole intent should be, how do I get dressed today that makes me feel good about who I am, how I want to show up, and what I want to put into the world? And there is a technical term. It's a scientific thing called enclothed cognition, which is really all about the psychology of how dressing makes you feel and how it impacts your productivity in terms of how you show up, what you're doing. So if you're in pajamas all day, do you really feel motivated to do much? Because I don't.
You might. No,
I mean, sleep. It might make me feel motivated to curl up in my recliner, but not really motivated to do anything productive.
And on the flip side of that, I can't tell you how many times in the corporate space where I would wear something and then like on the commute in, I was like, I'm not really comfortable. Like my pants are a little bit too tight or my blazer fits weird. And all day, it's all I think about. And it's so uncomfortable. And I'm like, I literally want to rip everything off when I get home because it's just so uncomfortable.
Right.
So it's both ways. And I think what's interesting about what I experienced, and I'm curious if you think this has something to do with it. We were given a pass to do a lot of different things we may have not done not a pass. During the pandemic, it was a record scratch moment that none of us had lived through a pandemic. Sure. And so we were like, hey, like for me, I was a people leader during the pandemic. And I was like, I just care about your well-being every day. Like, do whatever you want to do. I was like, literally. And then what's interesting is that, especially going back into the office, there were certain people of all generations, but there were generations that were like, they really needed to be able to, in order for them to feel safe, they needed really, really desperately for things to go back to the way that they were in office before pandemic. And what that showed up as is like a lot of dictating and assuming, and that everybody just knows what to do. And, and without having that important human interaction to say, hey, we know everybody wore whatever they wanted to do. Over the past 2 years, we are in office. And to your point, you said the word presentable earlier. We'd like all of you to be presentable, meaning if we had some customers or shareholders on site, like we want to conduct ourselves in a way of business. But I think that the definition of the way we do business has been, you said it, like it's been uprooted. So it's kind of like there was a step missed by and large in the workplace as a whole. And I'm not picking on any one industry or any one workplace. And I'm sure there's workplaces that got it right. I'm saying that on average, they just kind of skipped a step and said, okay, come back to the office. And there's like no conversation to be had. About how to show up.
Yeah, you're right. That was the missing piece. And I think everybody needed that. I'm sure that was a question, but nobody is kind of like, don't ask, don't tell type thing. Like, I'm not going to ask because I don't want them to tell me that I have to show up in this. So yeah, it's really interesting, but I believe it had an impact on way more industries than we really realize. I mean, naturally, there are some industries who dress down anyway all day and it doesn't matter, right? You think about people in the medical profession who may wear scrubs and they're comfy and they can get creative and colorful and wear, different things like that. But then you think about those who are client facing, right? In certain businesses, like you said, and what does presentable really mean? It's almost like having to have a dress code at high school, right? Where they tell you your hands, your shorts can't be shorter than your hand, and you put your hand down, or,
Yeah.
you can't wear certain things. And it's healthy to set parameters, right? Just parameters. You're not telling people what to wear. You're just saying, here's some parameters. And I think everyone could appreciate that in a way.
Yeah,
But
parameters, but also like why that's important to the business,
sure.
or not making it just about because we said, which is which is kind
Right.
of vibe where some have gone with.
Mhm.
So anyway, I appreciate you very
No,
much
I
with that.
love that because that's germane to what this is all about. A lot of questions I get from women are, how do I show up in different ways, but still reflect my own personal style, right? So that's a piece that we focus on, anchoring your style in your values, and what I call a style statement, which is just a few words that really represent your style. And so it helps people in terms of making intentional choices in their wardrobe, because then they just don't buy all the things and they've got this closet that really doesn't make sense and really doesn't feel authentic, because either they were emotional purchases, or it was because they were on sale, or all these different things, versus this is something that really reflects who I am and I feel great in it. And when I put it on, because statistics show that we only wear 20% of our wardrobe, right? So when you think of all the stuff you have, because we all have way more than we need, including myself. I just did some closet cleaning the past couple of weeks, but we all have 20%. So there's 80% of the clothing that we're not wearing. Why are we not wearing that? Is it because it's not comfortable? Is it because it no longer resonates with who we are in this season? Is it because it doesn't fit anymore?
Mm.
Just assessing those things and then getting rid of the things that don't work so that you can bring in more of what does work. So if you're someone who says, I just love to be comfortable, so if all I had in my wardrobe was athleisure wear, I'd be happy. I'd say, okay, let's go find athleisure wear that represents who you are. And let's build a capsule wardrobe around that,
Mhm.
so that every piece that you pull out, you can feel confident and comfortable in. And you can even find some things to dress up or down to fit certain, events or cultures or situations.
You're making me think because I have like 50 blazers still,
Yeah.
and I don't wear blazers anymore. Except I'm a vibe where I'll wear jeans, one of my fun t-shirts, and then a blazer. That's
Yeah.
kind of my style.
Sure.
And some tennis shoes. So I guess I do wear them, but it's
But all 50 of them?
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. So you're inspiring me. Okay.
So yeah, go through and find the ones that you
No.
really love and that feel really good. And
Yeah.
then maybe the rest you can gift to somebody who could use them. You could
Yes.
put them on Poshmark, make a little bit of money, reinvest into something else that you need, get a write-off by taking them to Goodwill. I mean, there's so many things we could do with the clothes that we don't use. I think we all have a tendency of hanging on to them. And what they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And it's so true. I put some things on Poshmark that were in good repair, but I'm like, nobody wants this. And sure enough, they buy it.
And it's energy, right? So for me as a life and energy coach, everything that you have around you, everything is energy. And
Right.
so I have, believe it or not, I have done several swipes at my closet, and I do keep looking at it. I'm like, I don't need those 50 blazers, but it helps me to think about how that's energy in my closet that could be cleared out for something that is more aligned with who I am in this chapter.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you're definitely inspiring me to do that. So I will do that.
Yes. Absolutely. And I recommend cleaning your closet maybe, 3 or 4 times a year. We have a tendency to kind of hoard things, hang on to things. I found some things that I didn't even remember that I had when I was organizing. I go through these phases where I had an open concept closet so I could see everything.
Mhm.
And then I went back to, I don't want to see it. So I went and bought all these organizing bins where I could put everything in them neatly, but I don't have to see the stuff. So, I mean, whatever works for you mentally, but there's so many different organizational things, tools that you can use to organize your clothes as well, that will help you in terms of making sure you're cycling through or wearing the things that you actually have.
I really resonate with the work that you do because it's beyond the clothes. You're actually
It's so beyond the clothes.
you're digging way into you're a little bit of a life coach. So like I vibe with
Yeah.
you. What you're saying, it's
Yeah.
like, what's happening? Is there
Right.
something more behind the clothes that you'd like to talk about?
Right.
And so that's I really,
Absolutely.
really respect the work that you do. That's pretty incredible because it's a way that I
Thank
hadn't thought
you.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pretty excited about it. And that is what differentiates me in the marketplace is that fashion, faith connection, style and values and what it really means for you because it is so much deeper than the clothes. The clothes, fashion and style are just tools and they're tools to really communicate, gain better visibility, command some authority, make impact. So there are so many other things. So my question is always, what's your goal? Like, what's your goal? How do you want to show up? How do you want to be perceived? What is it you're trying to communicate when you meet other people? And that all has a lot to do with what your purpose and your calling is, right? So we can connect all of those things through fashion and, help you show up in colors that communicate in a certain way, help you show up in styles that are more magnetic in terms of drawing people into you because you're right. It's energy, it's currency, it's so many different things, but people don't think about it. They just think about throwing something on. I'm just getting dressed. But when you make that mindset shift in terms of this can really benefit me and it can have a ripple effect, then you have an opportunity there, a real opportunity.
Speaking of which, what moves are you excited to be making right now?
Well, the biggest move is just launching this new quiz that you mentioned, the Purpose Palette Persona. I have been developing that probably since the end of last year, and it's just amazing how it all came together. And a lot of that had to do with my own personal transitions in life and some of the things that I was going through, the way I wanted to show up, the way I wanted to be seen. And, I think we all have these stage gates in life where you experience something, it impacts you in a way you're never the same again, and it allows you to just show up in a deeper way. For me, builds a more trust in God and where He's leading me and what my purpose is in life. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about my book anthology, which is launching next month, where I wrote, a 3,000 word chapter that's going to be talking about my experience with brain tumors and overcoming a stroke and just being on the other side of this and how it's impacted how I'm showing up in my life and my business, which is huge for me in terms of writing was healing. It allowed me to heal. It allowed me to move to a different place in my personal life and then to support women more deeply in business. Like you said, I realized that I'm more than just a stylist. I'm really a thought partner, someone who can get behind you and use all my years of corporate and strategy and negotiation and project management to help you understand how your purpose and your calling can be reflected through your wardrobe. So I'm just excited about God connecting all those dots for me so that I can then show up more powerfully.
I'm glad you're here and thank you for sharing what you've been through. And I'm excited to see that anthology. I want
Yeah.
to go to a post that you made recently on LinkedIn. It was actually today, and
Oh,
it really spoke to me. The way you present yourself holds immense power. As a senior female executive, your style becomes a tangible expression of your professionalism and authority. It's not just about what you wear, it's also about how you use clothing as a tool to command respect and project confidence. Clothing serves as a visual language communicating your competence, credibility, and character. By embracing strategic style choices, you can amplify your leadership presence and inspire those around you. Here are some practical tips to enhance your leadership style. Invest in well-fitted clothing that exudes confidence. Choose colors that resonate with authority. Incorporate statement accessories to add personality and flair to your ensemble. Pay attention to grooming and presentation. Infuse elements of your personal style and beliefs into your wardrobe. Embody the transformative power of style to elevate your leadership presence and command respect in every endeavor. There's unstoppable energy in your authentic style and leadership prowess. Yes, leadership prowess. Take the
yes.
Purpose Palette persona, and we'll include that in the show notes. So help me understand more about this post, what inspired you. I will say one thing that made me think of when I was reading this earlier today.
Mhm.
I was thinking that the day when I was in corporate, the day that I saw my CMO wear tennis shoes, I remember feeling amazing because I'm like, oh,
Mm,
she's she's giving me permission. Like that said a lot to me. So I don't want everyone to think that we're talking about that women need to dress up in the profession or like in the historical sense to be a leader. So will you help me unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, it's you define or redefine your style narrative. That's what I'm trying to communicate through this. And that's going to be different for every single one of us, right? And to be quite honest, we could all wear the same thing, but we're not going to wear it the same. But who wants to do that, right? That's boring. So, like you mentioned, your glasses, and I have a client who wears glasses and she loves wearing funky glasses. So anything that she can find colorful, bright, with different things on them. She's really into that. So she's almost known for that. That's like one of her signature things in style. And so what is that for you? I want everyone to like really be attuned to that. When I think about, for me, I'm just into styles and silhouettes that really almost communicate like everyday luxury, right? It doesn't have to be expensive. It just, when I say luxury, I mean things that make me feel good. So like fabrics that make me feel good and color that make me feel good and that really, accentuate my skin tone and different things like that. So there's so many different aspects to style that people don't tap into that can help them show up authentically. And so in terms of being a leader, you have leadership values and you have qualities about you that make you the leader that you are. How do you represent that in your style? How's that reflected in your style? Because like you said, her wearing those kind of gave you permission. It also made you see her in a different way, right? Made you perceive her in a different way. That's what this is all about. That's simply what it's all about. If you want to dress to the nines, I can help you do that. Yeah. And if you want to show up like really authentic but comfortably, I can help you do that too. It's really about where you are and what you want and us finding, that happy medium. There's always a gap that I see. You either see women who are really very sharp in their expertise, but when you look at them, you wouldn't be able to tell it. You wouldn't be able to tell it by how they show up. And then I see women, on the other hand, who are like sharp as a tack, right? But their inside doesn't match their outside. So my goal is really to bridge that gap for women so that whatever is inside you or whatever you're wearing is a direct reflection of what's inside you. So if you want to elevate, emotionally and spiritually, then we want to reflect that in your clothing as well. That's what it's all about for me. I think we have so many other things in this world that stress us out and that give us grief. Your clothes doesn't have to be one of those things, right? That's like the one thing that you can really control in terms of how you choose to get dressed every day. And if you're going to get dressed every day, you might as well get dressed in something that you like and that you appreciate and that makes you feel good.
I think my activist got triggered that day because I did hear a male peer. I remember getting really bummed out about this. A male peer was like, "Oh, can you believe she's wearing tennis shoes?" Like judging her as the CMO because she needs to wear heels. There's a lot of misogyny still around what women should wear. And so that kind of bummed me out. It took a lot for my sacred rage not to boil over. But I was like, I think she looks great. Like whatever. And just help spread that narrative that it's like still an and, especially in the workplace that is still skewed in the toxic masculine, which it's like being yourself. And I'm sure there's women out there that still have that kind of expectation about what they should show up as. I would encourage that woman, do you want to be there?
Exactly. And to me, that speaks volumes, right? I think he was projecting. He would have been in sneakers in any moment, right? Like he would have loved to have brought his sneakers and put them on, but he probably didn't have the courage and the confidence to do that. So that's another thing about style is it builds that for you, right? Confidence, which is irreplaceable in terms of everything. Sometimes, I can put on something that makes me feel so confident and it really impacts the way I show up and the way I present and the way I'm able to connect because I'm less worried about what I have on and I'm more concerned about building a rapport, making a connection, doing all the things because I'm comfortable and confident in what I have on, regardless of what it is.
Yeah,
So that's what it boils down to.
you're so right. That's exquisite. Because even if I wear something that I feel comfortable in, and sometimes I reject wearing bras, but then all I'm thinking about is like, oh my gosh, they can see my nipples. And then I'm not showing up. You're giving me a lot to think about because
Right.
sometimes I do things in protest and
Right.
that doesn't end up serving me. So
But you know what? I love that you brought that up because that's something that's solvable, right? That's something that's really solvable.
put on a
And
damn
it's
bra.
also something that a lot of women don't like to wear. None of us. I mean, regardless of what size you are, they're not comfortable. They're not the most comfortable things in the world. And we don't wear them because we necessarily want to. We wear them because we're trying to appear presentable, right?
Oh,
So it's again, that's like my job is to help you find all those options that make you feel better, right? So that you don't mind putting it on because it's comfortable and you like it. So,
yeah, and if I'm going to be so concerned with someone like, oh, everyone can see my nipples, like then I'll be like, just put a bra on. You'll feel more comfortable and be able to shine outward. So
right, right,
this
right.
is all
It all
everything.
has an impact. Yeah.
And just like so they're just like, just Amy, wear the damn bra. I was like, no. I'm like, but then there's repercussions. So awesome. So Courtney, this has been such a fast hour, but I have one question for you. What does your work look like as it relates to going more and more remote?
Well, since I've been in business, I've primarily been remote. So I work with my clients virtually. I
Mhm.
only really started working probably within the last couple of years in person,
Mhm.
right? I do almost everything. And now that I've really pivoted of sorts in terms of the depth of what I do, a lot of this stuff, I have an app that my clients who are one-on-one, that's where we put all their clothes. So I see their virtual closet. I help them in their virtual closet, organize things. I put shoppable links in that closet for them to be able to peruse things that they may want to add or that are in their wish list that they might want to, invest in. Yeah, so much digitally that we can do that a lot of it is not in person unless there's a client who wants in-person shopping. So I have a shopping retainer or retainer that can be used for many different things, including personal shopping. And so I do have some long-term clients that I meet up with once a quarter and we go curate a new capsule wardrobe at Nordstrom's or, one of the big stores at the mall and help them pick out statement pieces and really classic pieces that will serve them for a long time, things of that nature. What I love about this is it's really all about what you want to do. So there are some basics and fundamentals that I want everybody to know, but then we dive into what do you need? Do we need to overhaul your wardrobe? Do we need to focus more on how you're showing up, helping you build executive presence or entrepreneurial presence? What are those things that I can support you in through your wardrobe?
Do pants and shoes matter in a digital world?
Only if they matter to you. And that's so funny because even today when I was getting dressed, I had a choice to put on yoga pants
Yeah.
or some dark wash jeans. But I chose to wear the dark wash jeans because I was more concerned about how it was going to help me project and how I was going to feel, right? And how it was going to help me to show up. So even that you might find this silly, I put on perfume because I felt like, okay, I want to get fully dressed because I want to show up as the very best version of me. And I do that outside of this. So why wouldn't I do it even behind the camera? You can't smell it. You don't even know I have it on. I just told you I did, but I do. And it creates a certain sensation and feeling for me that allows me to show up in a certain way. So everything starts here. Everything starts inside. And
Yes.
then there's the ripple effect of how it then impacts and touches everybody else.
Yes. Courtney, where do we find you as we start to wrap up?
Oh, absolutely. So you can find me primarily on Instagram under Courtney Robinson. I do have a presence on I'm sorry, that's on LinkedIn. I do have a presence on Instagram and that's at Image by Courtney. And then I'm on Facebook as well, but I don't do as much on Facebook these days. It's more, friends and family type thing and talking about my book anthology, but really, LinkedIn is where you'll find me. And everybody likes to be on Instagram, right? So,
I like to poke the bear on Instagram is what I like to do. Excuse me, LinkedIn. Wow, what is that? LinkedIn. I like to poke the bear on LinkedIn and say things that aren't necessarily talked about on LinkedIn.
mhm.
What are your closing remarks as we wrap up?
I just want people to know that there is a really profound connection between or interplay between style and your values and beliefs, faith and fashion. And I want people to tap into that, whatever that looks like for them. That might not be your natural inclination, and that's why I'm here is to help you and support you in that journey. But I want women to know, especially that you can show up as the very best version of yourself. Don't think any less, right? And don't let prices and trends and external pressures make you feel like you can't show up the way that you want to show up because you can. So everything's a choice. It's just about making very intentional choices.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.